My name is Dr. Parvez Iqbal. I'm a pulmonologist and critical care specialist. I'm affiliated with New York Presbyterian Hospital, but mainly I do my private practices, which are in Brooklyn, Queens, and Long Island. Okay? And so, wonderful. So I would like to invite Dr. Ijaz Ahmed, our chairman of the APPAC, which all of you know and much better than me, you know. So, and he's going to speak about Mr. Phil Ramos and our proposed trip to Pakistan. Dr. Ijaz.
Thank you, Dr. Parvez Iqbal. So thanks to Dr. Parvez Iqbal for hosting. I'm Dr. Ijaz Ahmed. I'm a cardiologist, and we started APPAC in 2017. Most of the founding members and board members are here, and our first executive director, Atar Tirmizi, is also here. Thanks to everybody's effort. We are at this stage over many years hard work and our relationship that we thought that to take it to the next level, we generally have stated two missions. One is to our community, Pakistani Americans should get involved in in the American politics, mainstream politics. But we want to have a good relation between Pakistan and the United States. So based on those discussions always happen. One of our biggest friend in community and the legislative chambers is Deputy Speaker of New York State Assembly, Phil Ramos. He's our mentor since first day. He always comes and tells us what to do, and we always have very close discussions. You probably remember that last year he got a very big grant for us from New York State to build a community center, $500,000. So he's always gracious towards Pakistani community. So this time we were thinking to get a trip to Pakistan. There was a Jadawala incident happened. There were 6 Christian churches were burned, and APPAC. By the way, this whole event is being organized by APPAC Foundation, which is a 501c3 non-for-profit. We have a political arm, but we have a 501c3. So this is initiation by the APPAC Foundation. So our board from Texas had initiated this, that we should go to Pakistan and support our Christian brothers and sisters, which are suffering, that around 100 to 200 families. We raised some funds and we wanted to go to give them. At the same time, we were also having discussions over many years with Phil Ramos, and to open doors of trade and culture and other back and forth relations between Pakistan and the United States. So Phil Ramos was gracious, and he said that he can go with us. Our board, around 10 to 12 people are going. So he gave us 4 days. So our trip is scheduled to leave on November 2nd from New York, and some people are going from New York, some from Jersey, from Texas, and we are planning to go first to Lahore. In Lahore, we will do that event where we give money to Christians. Also, we'll meet governor and other government officials. And then we are planning to drive to Gujranwala, where I'm actually building hospital over last 4 to 5 years. We want to see that hospital and medical school under construction. And then we drive to Islamabad. In Islamabad, we'll have some meetings and press conference. And from Islamabad, we'll go to Karachi. And same thing we're gonna do in Karachi too. Highlight of the event, Phil Ramos will explain more what he thought of how can Pakistan, like Sindh state and Punjab state, can be a sister state with New York, and how we can do a lot of businesses together, opportunities of businesses for people there and people here. So he has many ideas. So he's going to elaborate on that. So I just wanted to tell you that it is people-to-people communication, also based on economic and cultural exchanges, students exchanges. So we will expand more on that, and each and every time we go have meeting or event, we'll address these things and expand more and more. With that, I'm also thankful to Council General to come. And also I'm thankful to APPAC Foundation board members who have donated and supported this. I especially want to say everybody, the Khan Sahib is here, Ashok Chaudhary, Sadia, Aurangzeb Pirzada. I saw Zulfikar was here, Shahid Ali, and Dr. Pervez himself. So everybody has supported for this, and I'm very thankful to everybody. We cannot do alone. This is a community effort, and hopefully we will try to bring something positive, relationship between two countries, or that country and this New York State. With that, I'm going to ask Honorable Deputy Speaker to come on stage and say a few words.
Thank you. Thank you so much. What we're talking about today is something unprecedented in this entire country. It's something that's going to have a real impact on your people both here and in Pakistan. I want to speak, first off, before I speak, I want to thank our gracious host, Iqbal Parvez, and his gracious wife for having us here. And I want to welcome everybody and thank you all for coming. And the board members, I want to thank you, Mr. Counsel General. It's truly an honor to have you here, and I look forward to working with you. We have a lot on the agenda that we should be discussing, because there's a lot of things that we can do that can help both countries and citizens of both countries. So I want to explain a little bit about the evolution of how the birth of this idea of what was going on. And as Dr. Ahmad mentioned, for years we've been working together talking about how to empower the Pakistani community here, Pakistani Americans, how to deal with some things overseas. We all know that at the federal level, there's all sorts of issues and geopolitical issues, and it's important to understand that this mission that we're doing is not a geopolitical purpose. This has nothing to do with politics, not in Pakistan or here. And it's important that you understand this, and we support this effort. You know, what sometimes happens is I will go on a mission on a country and do something, and you'll get people misinterpreted here. Why is he standing with him? He's from this party. Why is he from this? My job and our job is to meet with whoever's in power, regardless of party, because they're the ones who can make happen the things that we want to make happen. The world is much smaller today. Years ago, when I was a kid, if you immigrated from your country to the United States, you left a world back there. You didn't have the communications that you have today. You were isolated. You didn't see your family for a long time. Today, the world and the economies are much smaller. The world is much smaller, and the economies are more intertwined. What happens in the United States will affect Pakistan. What happens in Pakistan affects us. So we want to convert this into a symbiotic relationship. Regardless of what issues happen in Washington, relationship between Washington, every state in the United States has large budgets, and the states are consumers. In New York State, our budget is $240 billion that we have to spend. New York State purchases from Taiwan, from many other countries, purchases things. They have an international office, yet there is no trade with Pakistan. Now, you as Pakistani Americans have a right to expect that, because it's your money. It's your taxes that you are paying, and you have a right to expect that some of that money, if that's your desire, and you make your feelings known to elected officials, that some of these procurement and investments should go towards your country. And the purpose of this, since the world is smaller and we are so much closer, it's almost like an elected official here, me an assemblyman, and an elected official in your country, we pretty much represent the same families. Your families are over there, you know, and here. And I represent you over here who have an interest in what you left. You would not have left your country behind had it not been for economic reasons and the opportunities that you have here. But now we have a chance to actually do something. This historic visit is possible because of the warm invitation that, as a result of Dr. Ahmad speaking to the government over there, they extended an invitation because they desire better relations with the United States. At least that's what had been communicated to me. And you got to realize, to give you a little bit of historical context, the United States, every state used to be a country. Every state had its own president, which is the governor, its own legislature, with Congress, which is the assembly, its own Senate, and the agreement to create United States was only under condition that the states have certain amount of autonomy to do things, and there's certain jurisdictions. So they have their own budgets, and they can negotiate international trade independently of so it's visionary leaders like Dr. Ahmad who see this as an opportunity to create a circumstance in which we can benefit Pakistanis, Americans here, and Pakistanis in your country. There have been small, some contact with federal elected officials in Pakistan. There has never been a state delegation to go to Pakistan to do what it is we are trying to do. If we can get some agreements we're gonna actually suggest some ideas. We're gonna be talking about various things. One of which is getting the U.S. and Pakistan to sign an MOU allowing Pakistani retirees, Pakistani Americans who retire and go back to Pakistan, that their Medicaid and Medicare can be used for medical services in your country. That would save taxpayer money here. That benefits Americans, not only Pakistani, because healthcare is cheaper over there. And at the same time, I guarantee you, most of you probably have family who, your parents or somebody who goes back to Pakistan. They live here and they go back, and maybe winter months they spend over there, but they have to come back to go to the doctor. They have to come back. They have medical condition and everything, and they come back. This will allow so that they can get at least some kind of treatment, and something benefits your families. There are several things. We've done this. I had a mission a couple months ago with the Dominican Republic. We signed an MOU to recognize driver's licenses from the Dominican Republic. So a citizen from there who's an American, in this case it would be a Pakistani who would come here, immigrate to New York, would be able to convert his or her license into a New York license without having to take the test or anything like that. Small benefit, but it's one thing that it's a start for the things that we could start this dialogue and start benefiting as a result of this mission. Again, I state that this is not political. This is about the 100,000 Pakistanis who live in New York and their families who live over there. This is what this is about. And we're going to do everything to try and create that relationship and open the door, because I know there are concerns about some of my colleagues who concerns about going to Pakistan. I think that once we open this door, we should do a yearly delegation, go to Pakistan, and this is the first time. What makes this trip significant is that this is not a symbolic trip. This is not for photo ops. This is the first time that a state legislature and powerful Pakistani leaders are going to another country to actually construct a legislative agenda. We hope to come back with laws and agreements and or promises to start on both sides working on certain things. For instance, the Medicaid, Medicare thing. That's something where both the government over there and the government here would have to put certain things in place. We need some safeguards over there to make sure that there's no fraud, and we need laws passed here. I would have to pass a law to allow those funds to be spent over there. So both governments would have to do their job. But we're going to start that conversation as a result of the visionary leaders of APPAC. And I have to say that the soldier, the constant, who's been behind the logistics of putting together, is sitting right back there. Humble man. After Termizi was my former chief of staff, who has moved mountains for his people with the guidance of Dr. Ahmad, and he's worked with me, and he has to put, first of all the logistics of this trip. He has worked on this to put together all the contacts over there. He has worked. He is working on the agenda dialogue that we're going to have. He's putting together deliverables that we're asking them to deliver and that we're promising to do. And we're certainly, by the way, it's open for any suggestions that you board members might have, if you have any ideas of things that we can speak about. But this first trip, I think, is going to be it's going to be historic, but we're going to open up a door. We're going to be able to increase economic development. And the other benefit that we have seen is that when countries, regardless of the geopolitical issues that affect relations between countries, there's no doubt that countries who have economic ties have less conflicts. If, as Pakistani Americans, if you're concerned, and it should be, that we have a good relationship, the U.S. has a good relationship with Pakistan, this is the motive of what we are doing here. You know, we're trying to create that good relationship as a result of what we're doing here. And I think once my colleagues see that this trip was successful, once they see that there were milestones for American citizens, you know, in this, I think that this will grow. And we have countries like Taiwan. We have I know Israel. They go to every state legislature. They have a permanent representative who goes to the assembly, talks to us, meets with us, constantly advocating, and also does missions like this. And if you notice, countries like Taiwan and Israel, look at the ties they have. You know, they have some powerful ties. It's because they work all the state legislatures. And if you go to Congress and Senate, you're going to find that 90% of the senators and congressmen in Washington were former assemblymen or former senators at the state level. So countries like Taiwan are getting their foot in the door way before these people are in the power to do the things that they really need to do them. So we're doing that with Pakistan now. If we can start this exercise, this yearly exercise, and build, and we're able to get 2 or 3 things now, and then we build on it next year. APPAC has created a mechanism to bring results that I believe will be the tide that rises all ships. So I want to thank you all. If it were not for the resolve of your organization, of APPAC Foundation, the leaders who have all discussed this, your love for your country, you guys are pretty comfortable here. Nobody really has to be doing this. But the love you have in your heart, you realize what you left behind, you realize the potential. When we immigrate, and I'm from an immigrant family as well, when we immigrate, we end up getting a different optic about things. And I always say, if you want to help, I tell Puerto Ricans, you want to help Puerto Rico? Empower Puerto Ricans here. You want to help people in Pakistan? Empower Pakistani Americans. You're the ones who can promote change. Because in our countries, sometimes when you're in people who live in there, there's, you know, because of media and the way things are controlled, people have a different optic of things. But when you leave your country and you come here, you realize what's possible. And that's why I see in all of your hearts, and that's why I see that is the seeds of what created this historic mission that in the end, as I said, will be the tide that rises all ships. So God bless you all. I want to thank you. And at this time, I would like to open it up for any questions from the press. And the way we're approaching it, again, is purely economic relations and helping trying to find ways that we can help MOUs, sign MOUs with your country, creating a sister state between New York State and a particular state in Pakistan creates other opportunities for governors, or because those governments can also be dealt with as well.
What is the appointment and meeting lineup, and if they're confirmed? And also, you mentioned that there's going to be some sister cities pact.
Mm-hmm.
So would you like to elaborate on those, please? Dr. Jaz and Phil Ramos, both of you.
So the meeting so far, we have the Prime Minister, all the governors, chief ministers, and Chamber of Commerce. All these are confirmed, and then there is some tour to universities where Phil wants to meet students and invite them to come to America. We are still working on many other logistics. Chamber of Commerce is one, economic and cultural. We also have some cultural events being planned. What was the other question? Sisters.
I want to mention something about what you're saying. Depending on who we're meeting with, we have different legislative agendas. Sure. For instance, meeting with Chamber of Commerce over there, I plan to plant the idea of creating corporations for import-export at a macro level. And let me explain to you, because I've already done this with El Salvador. For instance, in El Salvador, you have the people who, the farmers over there, right? They farm and they sell their products to somebody who transports this to the coast, and then it gets shipped out somewhere or goes by plane in other places, and so it goes by planes in other places. So, but what happens is that farmer, by the time that product gets to the United States, you have the guy who brings it to the coast, you have the ship here, you have the plane, you have the broker in the United States, you have all sorts of people in between. What we did with El Salvador is we got a whole bunch of small farmers, formed a corporation, and connected them with my local bodega owners, right? 50 different bodegas, like one bodega doesn't have enough to be importing that capacity, but 50 do. They formed their corporation here, and we had more direct imports from that country, bringing ethnic products, and it's the same thing. So when we meet with the Chamber of Commerce, we're going to be talking about that. You have a market here of Pakistani consumers who consume Pakistani products, many of which don't exist here. All you have to do is marry the businesses here with the providers in your country, and that's going to be that discussion. So as Dr. Ahmad mentioned, we're going to be meeting with different groups, but of course we have different themes that we'll
Can
be
you talk
talking
to them about mango export as well?
I wish. I'm going to bring a bunch of my suitcases.
All right, sister cities, I asked about that as well.
Yes.
So you said there might be New York and some city you're
Yeah,
picking up.
but again, remember this is an exploratory trip, so we have to see if there's interest. And if there is, certainly there's interest on my end on reciprocating.
So Phil, on behalf of New York State Assembly, has offered to bring that New York State, bring a resolution in the Assembly between New York and Sindh and New York and Punjab, so sister states. That's in the process. But also, we want to see if there is appetite there and what will be, what we have to do on the ground there to make sure between two states it works out.
And
This is an exploratory trip.
And Mr. Ramos, can you tell us what is the procedure to declare sister states, New York and
It
Punjab?
requires a law to be passed, both here and there, an agreement between both states, and then we sign an MOU.
Okay, you said, you talk about to bring Punjab, Sindh, and New York close with each other, you know. New York, Punjab and Sindh both are big industrial provinces in Pakistan. And New York is a big attraction for the manufacturers and exporters in Pakistan. But there are some barriers, export barriers, you know, that come in between. So as a state legislator, what role you can play to take care of those barriers and make sure that there is more export and more access of Pakistani traders to US market and especially New York markets?
So the first step is to be speaking with this delegation about any ideas you have in that regard. You know, if you have ideas in that regard, certainly let us know. And if anybody has any ideas about something for us to include here, again, always when it's an issue of economic ties, benefit, not geopolitical. As long as that's what it is, we're open to suggestions. It's open. You all know your country much better than me. You know what the needs are. So I would suggest you speak to Arthur. Actually, he's the magician behind this whole thing. So you speak to him, and we can talk and see if we can put something together in that respect.
Thank you so much.
Can I change the topic from?
We signed a sister city agreement with Punjab or any state over there. What it creates is a circumstance where now you're going to have state delegations coming here to the U.S. and vice versa to talk about an area that you mentioned. There's a lot of manufacturing there. That's right up our alley of what we're talking about with this mission. So that's what we hope to come out of it.
And it's a common tradition that, you know, such sort of MOUs are signed between two cities. So the basic aim is to, you know, sign a document which bring those, cities closer to work in a spirit of understanding, collaboration, and compassion. If there are any gaps in development, they can work towards, doing away with those. They can help each other in capacity building things, courses, they can visit each other, they can learn from each other's best practices that they're adopting, and it also gives an opportunity to, both the countries, the mayor office, the parliaments in those states, to more frankly talk about the issues, issues that they are, the common challenges that they are facing, and how to come up with solutions, in a combined united manner.
So maybe you can answer this. Is your office facilitating any help to the
Honorable Deputy Speaker and Dr. Saab for doing my job. So, there can't be anything more elating and
Another-
So, Phil, can
for
you
me.
just talk a little bit about if and when we do have this precedent set for New York State, how it opens the door for other states and other Pakistanis in those states to do the same?
Exactly, and APPAC has sectors throughout the United States. It's not just a New York thing. So this is gonna grow. This is gonna take on its own life. And there will be many benefits and it, again, have a multiplier effect. I believe that all the contacts you made, I know you went throughout the country, organizing Muslims to make chapters of APPAC. They exist. Now, what you're doing here should be done with all those states. I can help provide, some contacts within those legislatures, find an ally of mine who can work with them and see if we can duplicate that. And you will see, and remember I told you this, down the road, years from now, you're gonna see a change in relationship, and especially economic relationship. If we're successful in duplicating this in other states, you're really gonna see some major changes.
Thank you.
Before we can even get to that, to talk to manufacturers here about trade, we have to reach agreements in your country. So once we cover that base and see what can come of this, then we have something to come back to those businessmen, manufacturers here and say, look, this is what we've agreed to. Here are opportunities for you.
Beautiful.
So that all that is part of a follow.
Sorry, Dr. Saab.
So,
With the education is something that I've already done with the Dominican Republic. We went down there and we got, there were some professions where they would study down there, but they weren't accredited here. We got the institution, the universities here and there to start talking about how we can reconcile the two, because, as you said, we have a shortage, and that's something we can certainly duplicate.
Yeah.
Wonderful. After, make sure that gets added to the agenda, because we don't have.
and flights.
Yeah.
Just to elaborate.
Oh,
on-
and I'm sorry, and the flight thing with Dominican Republic, they had 2 airlines going there. People were paying, for a 3-hour flight, they were paying $800 round trip to go to Dominican Republic. We reached an agreement with them, and they, the government went and opened up the door, and there's now 13 airlines, and now it costs you $250.
This is what he does.
Yeah, yeah, this was about 4 months ago we went down there.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just to elaborate on what Mr. Mohsen Zahir was saying, when nurses come from any other country to America, they come on green card, they come on immigration visa, not on H1 or J1 or something like that. The doctors come on H1 or J1, but the nurses, when they come from there, because there's a shortage of the nurses, they come on green card, so our family can come. And so it is good for them, because they come on green card, and come with the family, and good for America, because here we have such severe shortage of nurses. There is actually in New York State is an emergency, right now the emergency declared is a shortage of the healthcare workers for as generally, so there's a shortage of that. So it can be very good both ways. Excellent suggestion.
Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe.